what? Generation One's mission is to champion systemic change in the education system, specifically in early childhood education. Our goal is to create an equitable education landscape that allows for equal opportunity to learn and grow, no matter what zip code you live in. Why? Genius, skills, and talent are equally distributed, but opportunity is not. Generation One builds the foundation early in a child's development to empower them to recognize opportunity and take full advantage of it, as well as to create their own. Houston, the most diverse city in the country, is amazing and innovative, with unlimited opportunities. Yet too many young people are coming out of high school, unable to get a skilled job, go to college, or start a business. Generation One has chosen to focus our energies on bridging the success gap. We are here to change the status quo of who can and who cannot. How? High-quality early childhood education is the best preparation for success. In order for Houston to continue to excel and be a leader in innovation and job growth, it is essential to tap into the amazing potential of its youth. Generation One is working with University of Houston Downtown, University of Houston Clear Lake, and Texas Children's Hospital professionals to create a trauma-informed social and emotional program that can be replicated across the education system. Innovation is birthed in diversity, and opportunity is for those who have been prepared for it. With your support, Generation One has the opportunity to change the direction of our city by changing the direction of our youth. If not you, who? If not now, when?
We started 13 years ago after-school programs with early elementary school kids, summer camps, basketball teams. We had a knife fight in our first practice on our first basketball team. Our second game in the first league, the whole team got kicked out of the league. So we did this kind of stuff for 4 years, and we adopted a boy. He was 8 years old, abandoned in the community, and brought in his sister, and had them for. His sister was with us for about 30 days. He's still with us. He's 16 now. And she ran away after 30 days because of just couldn't handle the peace and the structure and the quiet. And so I went to work. This is in April of 2011, after 4 years of being in the inner city. And I'm dealing with her leaving, and find out 4 of our young men who we started with at 12 and 13, they hit 15 and 16, have been shot over the weekend. 1 or 2 was at the rodeo, if you remember that year. And so the combination of all that, I just went out in the street and I was like, God, what are we doing here? Why are we here? 4 years in, we haven't changed anything. And found out as deep as your sorrow goes is how high your passion can rise to solve a problem. And we decided, all right, we need a lot more time than to invest in these kids than after school. So we started an academy, a year-round academy, and went pre-K 4 and up to 6th grade. Our first year, we had 2 sets of siblings abandoned by their parents. We had masked gunmen break into a home with 6 children and pistol whip their parents, robbing them. We had a young girl who the police busted in twice in 6 months to get older brothers. And we already been here 4 years, but we had no idea it was that deep, the trauma and the stress these kids were going through. So we went a few years in, and we realized these kids were coming in 1 to 3 grade levels behind. And within about 2 years, we could catch them up academically. But we noticed the social and emotional learning, the self-regulation, the trauma that hasn't been addressed, just really handicapping them. And it didn't matter how well they could read or write if those things were taken care of. And as we were going along, and we started up to 4th grade, added a 5th and a 6th grade, the older boys hitting 15, 16, 17, and 18 started getting killed. And I tell people we're racing for life, and we're fighting for life and racing death, and we've lost that race 8 times with 8 young men. So every time that happens, we double down, we do more research, we're trying to figure out what's going on. So a few years ago, after we lost 2 kids 30 days apart, we said, okay, we're still not moving the needle here. We've got to do something different. So we did a lot of research, we worked through a lot of things, and then we flipped the entire academy over to early childhood education and started seeing some amazing results. And as we started dealing with the trauma and the stress, and really studying what a child under almost continuous stress, what effect does that have on his cognitive ability and his ability to learn, and specifically when you go into survival mode and you never get out. How do you develop it? What are the deficits, and how do you get educated in that space? And then as we were working through that, we ran into Texas Children's Hospital, Julie Caplow, and realized through her work that bereavement is the #1 indicator of high school dropouts. It's over sexual or physical abuse. And as we did a survey of our families, 75% of our families have lost an immediate loved one every year they've been with us. If you add prison, 100%. And bereavement is never talked about or dealt with. Now, it was also a light bulb moment for us because, our families do not like to hear about mental illness. They don't like labels. It takes us 2 years to talk a mom into taking her son or daughter somewhere to get some medication or get stabilized. And we found out that bereavement therapy mimics and parallels trauma therapy. So we're like, okay, well, we can get you to come in for bereavement therapy. You're sad. Everybody's sad when they lose a loved one. So it opened up a huge door to some mental health opportunities for us. We got a great grant from the Simmons Foundation to hire a social worker and develop a bereavement program. Right now, in this city and state, and I think nationally, there's no bereavement therapy program developed for 12 and under. It starts at 12 and goes up. And we're doing that with our after-school kids. But part of our partnership with Texas Children's is to develop the bereavement therapy for 12 and under. Because we can't let these kids go from 1 or 2 or 3 years old to 12 before they get that therapy. We have an 11-year-old that was on the news last year. She's 11 years old, knows 5 people that have been murdered, family members and friends by 11. And these things, you can't overcome these things if you don't have a lot of intense help. So what we did was partner with them, and we realized, okay, this problem this isn't just an inner city problem. This is a city problem, a state, national problem. So we became a living laboratory, partnering with these guys to develop a trauma and bereavement informed social emotional learning curriculum program that can be scaled out to public, private, and charter schools eventually. So we're about a year into this project with this team, and first year was us getting to know them getting to know us, work out our little differences, and now we're ready to start making some progress. And high quality early childhood education is the best family prep, job prep, and college prep. If you don't build that foundation, we've already said by 5, your brain's 90% developed. You learn empathy and trust develops between 6 and 16 months old. If you're not safe in that time frame, you don't develop empathy and you don't develop trust. Add no self-regulation and no self-awareness to that, and turn 17, get confronted by somebody else or the police, and you end up on the news. So that's the gap we're in. You've heard of, many of you probably seen Harris TED Talk. Is it Catherine Harris's TED Talk about ACEs? Mm-hmm. And if you're in stress too long as early childhood, the adrenaline and the cortisol continuously pumping into your brain rewires you. You get stuck on fight or flight, and kids the rest of your life will run. And it doesn't matter if you turn 30 or 40 or 50, you're still going to run or you're still going to fight. So this is the space we've decided to just put maximum effort into and develop some things. We're actually located in Cooney Homes, the oldest public housing in Houston, built in 1938. The Barbara Bush Foundation and TSU created a lab school there about 20 years ago and moved out, so we moved in. Just some of our statistics, working with the kids around social and emotional learning, bereavement, trauma, and growth mindset. We're seeing some great results. Some of the kids that have come through, this family's kids went through our programs, and now they're in HISD, and the teachers are asking them, why are your kids different? Early childhood education, social emotional learning, self-awareness. They're able to sit down. They're able, you talked about kids coming into school, never seen a crayon, not knowing how to spell their name or hold a pencil. Well, yes, I'll see that and raise you bereavement and trauma and ACEs and being stuck with too much adrenaline and cortisol going in. So we have our early childhood education laboratory. Our after-school program goes up to 8th grade. And then we have our family, because you can only get the kids to go as far as the family environment will allow them to go.